Okay, let's see if I can do this without confusing myself, let alone anybody else. So this is what over here I'm talking about is tip to tip, right? Right in that area there, which is let's see if I can figure out how to get it out of there. So that's this in here, tip to tip, and I did that by flowing this baseline from. See, there's the tip. This is the surface I'm going on onto this curve here. And so there's an issue with what I'll show you the tip to tip and then moving the baseline. Um, and what I meant by that whole discussion I gave earlier. Okay, so let me delete that. Um, so let's reflow this. So I'm gonna take this surface and these. Oh, and by the way, all these other curves and everything, that's this curve here unwrapped and this curve unwrapped and then connected in theory. So we'll get to that in a second. This is cut off because what I did was take the shortest edge and cut the 60-degree angle, which is this here. And so that gave me a proper surface to do the non-distorted flow I was talking about. So now let's flow this, okay? There's flow. Let's pick that baseline right there, which comes from tip to tip, and go to there. And what I did though was see if I chose stretch, and that gave the tip to tip. So that resized all of this stuff because you're doing another um, bend and stretch and shrink and stuff, right? So let's just accept that, and then now I'm going to show you what I was talking about, which is if I take this and I go halfway in between the surface with the base curve. Oh, I forgot I got it. What I can do is update history history enable on all this stuff. Enable update. Okay, so now I can take this, and if I bring it to the middle of the surface, see how it touches in the middle now? And then I can also bring it back to the shortest point to point, which is that one right there. And now I've got them touching. And you can use that though to look and go, look at how my metal is stretching. You see what I'm saying? So I could, in theory, I could measure that right now. You know what I mean? Right? 0.3116. Now, that comes into play in how much stretch did I really get on the long edge versus if the short edge was the proper length for my unwrap that I had, right? So let's uh let's go back a little bit. What I want to do is back up, and then now what I want to do though is I'm going to reflow because what I did was I did myself a disservice. That's my base curve, that's my target curve. And then, but remember I chose stretch. So if I don't pick stretch, look what happens. It has that big gap. So that's the metal trying to bend this metal around a ring from that base curve that you need to stretch it by that much. You could measure from this point to this point, or from this point to this point. Um, what I could do though, so let me just accept that. Now, if I just want to use my Moy modeling to explore, I can take my base curve, and stretch it to the middle of. Oh, I keep forgetting it. What I want to do is enable update on my result, right? History, update. And now I can take my base curve, and if I stretch it to what was, remember the original surface, which would have been these curves unwrapped and everything, let me stretch my base curve out to that. Now, my gap is totally even. And so the base curve for the flow, the gap was just moves. That's what that's controlling. So how do I get those to touch, right? I can change the surface length. So if I come up here and I take the surface length and I stretch it out to be the full length of the original tip to tip, you see how now I'm seeing that overlapping and stuff. The bottom layers are overlapping, and the bottom curve, the inside of the circle, and the top side. So I could measure that, right? What is that? 2.6080. So what I could do is shrink 2.6080 my surface, my metal, by that much, or half that much. There's that. And then now let's shrink it by the rest of it. And I've got, I mean, it's almost done. So I haven't quite got to this point. It's pretty close. I mean, if I use the software